Hi everyone and welcome to Inderes TV. Today we're gonna talk about the topic ESG with Karolina Loikkanen, Head of ESG Solutions at Inderes. Very welcome.
Thank you.
We're gonna start off by saying that this is a humongous topic and it's impossible to cover everything today, so we can promise already that we will be back.
Yeah, we definitely need to do that.
Yeah, so we're going to grasp the surface today. As a starter, who are you and how did you become so interested in this subject?
Well, so I worked quite many years as head of sustainability in few corporations, international ones. And I think in ESG, I got quite interested in the future. To put it really simply, I honestly believe that the kind of real ESG topics, environmental, social, and governance-related topics, will have an impact on business, and we've already seen that that's the case. And going forward, I believe that various environmental aspects, social aspects, and governance aspects are requested to be managed better than those are managed today. And once you manage those better, you will get better results.
But what's your driving force on a personal level?
On a personal level, that's an excellent question. To be quite honest, ESG is quite chaotic every now and then, and
copy that.
it's a topic which is continuously evolving. And as a person, I like to work with topics where you need to catch a lot of things together and just to simplify it and make it as clear as possible, implement it, and make some sort of a change. So I think it's about impacting in a way, impacting things, impacting future.
Yeah, and the thing you said about making it more simple and understandable from the chaos to bring it down to the level of all of us others, that sounds really, really good, because this is a hard topic to grasp. ESG, we all have heard the terms and the shortening, but could you please open up what does it really mean and what does it mean to you as a person?
Okay, so let's start with the letters.
Yeah.
So ESG stands for Environment, Social and Governance, also known as sustainability or previously corporate social responsibility. How I see it, and this is my opinion, because there are as many opinions as there are people today, I would say that ESG is about assessing the impacts of environmental issues, social issues, and governance-related issues on investment targets, or alternatively, on a company operations or on a sector, and assessing what are the impacts on the business case and how the company or another investment target will actually impact those topics respectively, how they manage those topics.
Okay.
So I would say that's a sort of definition.
Yeah, and it's kind of broad. And the other thing that we noticed when we started discussing about this, I at least struggle with the fact that it all comes back to morals on a certain level, and what could be really important for me as a person from a moral point of view might not be that for another one. So how do you measure morals, and or do you agree with me, or or am I just off topic here?
No, I think I agree, but I also don't agree with you.
Yeah.
So how I see it is that there are two levels of ESG.
Yeah.
One is about morals, like you just described it. What might matter to you might not be that important to me as a person.
And that's on a very personal
level. That's a
level.
really personal question. And those are things you need to discuss with yourself. What do I accept? What I don't accept? What are the things I want to impact on? What are the things I don't care that much? Those are personal questions, but those are important questions as well. But then there is the another level when it comes to ESG, and it's not a tougher level, but it's more about level of kind of financial impacts, about risks and returns, and
more hardcore facts.
Hardcore facts in a way, and then we come back to the facts that you need to understand the impacts of these environmental topics or societal topics on the companies you're investing in quite well to understand what do they mean for that company or for that sector or for their customers. And what is actually interesting to understand is also that the moral level and the kind of tougher level, they are really interlinked, because you always come down to the morals, because the legislation, which is impacting the companies, the societal discussion, which is impacting the companies, that's based on the people's morals, on individuals' morals, right? So it comes down to the morals, but then in the end it will evolve to kind of financial impacts and to kind of tougher figures as well.
Yeah, so the morality is the driving force of the...
In the end, it might be actually like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it, at least. Yeah. When I then asked you, I would like some more information about this, where do I start? And you said, you will drown in information. And that was actually how I felt, and I think really many people feel like. But then you actually wrote a blog post that clarified it to me, at least from an investor's point of view, where to start. And you pointed out two things that the investor should be looking at. One was what are the goals from a climate perspective for the company, and how are they going to achieve those goals? And the other one was the taxonomy. And if you look at the first one first, how do you know as an investor that the company is setting up relevant and realistic goals?
Well, it's quite hard to assess every now and then. You should be quite an expert on specific sectors and also on how to set climate targets to actually assess whether the targets are relevant. So at this moment, you need to rely on the information the company is giving to you. So in their management reports or in their annual reports, they quite usually describe the targets which are set on climate, for example.
But that means that you have to be really on topic yourself as an investor. Yeah.
Yes. If I kind of take a step back to the question itself, I think those two topics are quite good to assess and take a look at already now, every now and then, by all investors, for a few reasons. The first is that the data is available. In ESG, the biggest problem has been that we don't have reliable data. On climate and on taxonomy, the data starts to be on a reliable level. There is still a way to go, really. But quite many companies have already started to kind of put some effort on the data around those two topics. And the second thing is, of course, that the impact of those two topics happen to be quite significant on many sectors going forward. So if we take an example from climate, we are witnessing an era where we have increasing amount of legislation on carbon tariffs, for example, emission trading systems and other kind of systems which will definitely impact the companies and the operations of the companies and the costs the companies need to carry going forward. So once you take a look at the climate targets, you should always ask that how much does it actually cost to get to those targets? Mm-hmm. Does it mean that you need to actually adjust the operations? And how to adjust it? Do you need to make some changes on the product portfolio? What does that mean in a short or long term? So the questions which should be assessed are quite many, actually.
Yeah.
And added with the kind of changing legislation, it's a complex set of issues. And of course, as an investor, I at least hope that the information the companies are giving out on this topic would be better, would be easier to read and easier to find, because it's important from the investment perspective as well to start to understand how these things go forward.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing you lifted up in your blog post was the taxonomy. And this is really rising question marks. If I understand this one correctly, is like a scale of measurement on a European level. And but I have so many questions.
Quite many of us have many questions on taxonomy, so you're definitely not the only one.
But could you kind of enlighten this a bit? And is this international standard, or is it just for the European Union? And yeah, please tell me more.
I'll try.
Yeah,
but this is definitely an evolving topic. Mm-hmm. But the basic picture is that taxonomy is an European-wide legislation which requests large companies report what is the share of so-called green turnover of the total turnover.
Listed large cap companies within
Listed large companies within the European Union. Yeah. To be more specific, companies with more than 500 employees. And to make it a little bit more complicated, that threshold will change now during the next few years. So more and more companies need to start reporting this share of turnover as what are reporting today. And in addition to this kind of green turnover rate, they need to also report CapEx and OpEx related to these green activities.
Yeah, and could you open up that a little bit more, please?
Yes, to start with what is green, that's the toughest question. And it's tough because the technology is evolving continuously. So what is green today will not be green most probably in 3 years' time.
But the taxonomy gives a kind of list of everything that is like green enough.
Yeah, exactly. So the green is defined by the European Union. So they have a huge list of sectors and products which are so-called taxonomy eligible. So they are defined as green, but not all sectors are yet on the list. So a company might have a taxonomy turnover rate like 0 because it's just simply not included into the taxonomy list, but it will be during a few years of time.
So important from an investor point of view would be to kind of follow these taxonomy measures over time.
Yes, exactly. That's the point. So for investor, the most important thing is to monitor how the figure is evolving over time. It doesn't matter where it is today because now we are all practicing. What does that actually mean? And the whole taxonomy is evolving. We don't know how it will actually evolve. What are the overall impacts going forward? But to follow how the taxonomy figures are evolving, and also to every now and then monitor that what sort of impacts the taxonomy regulation will have on broader capital markets. Because the whole point of this taxonomy is to start to accelerate capital towards these so-called green investments and green operations. But we don't yet know what are the impacts. We don't have any kind of results.
Yeah, we don't have any results, and we have to emphasize the fact that this is just on European level at the moment.
Unfortunately, yes.
I think this topic is so wide. I think this is just enough for today, and we will continue this discussion. Thank you so much for coming, Karoliina Loikkanen.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure to have you.